Hey everyone! Before we dive into today's incredible story of betrayal, revenge, and ultimate triumph, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to Tender Heart Stories. We bring you the most jaw-dropping emotional roller coaster stories every single week. And I have a question for you. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? Drop yes or no in the comments below. Now, let's get into this story because trust me, you're not ready for these twists. Alexis Rivera had always believed that success was built on two things: brilliant code and unwavering trust. At 34 years old, she'd proven the first part beyond any doubt. The second part was about to destroy her. She sat in the glass-walled conference room of Novatech headquarters, looking out over the San Francisco skyline as the sun dipped below the horizon. The building itself was a testament to what she and her best friend Vanessa Chen had built together over the past 5 years. From coding in Alex's garage with nothing but laptops, energy drinks, and a dream, they'd created ThinkSync, an AI-powered productivity app that had revolutionized how Fortune 500 companies managed their workflows. Now they were 3 weeks away from their initial public offering, 3 weeks away from becoming millionaires, 3 weeks away from everything Alex had worked for since she'd written her first line of code at age 12. "Babe, you coming to bed?" Derek's voice pulled her from her thoughts. Her fiancé stood in the doorway of their penthouse bedroom, his perfect smile gleaming in the low light. Derek Matthews had walked into her life 18 months ago at a tech conference, swept her off her feet with his charm and business acumen, and proposed 6 months ago with a ring that had made her cry happy tears for an hour. "Just reviewing the IPO documents one more time," Alex said, closing her laptop. "I want everything to be perfect." "It will be," Derek assured her, crossing the room to massage her shoulders. "You and Vanessa have built something incredible. In 3 weeks, you'll both be worth $250 million. Nothing can stop you now." Alex leaned into his touch, letting herself believe it. She'd split the company 60-40 with Vanessa, with Alex holding the majority stake as the technical founder and CEO. Vanessa, as CFO, had handled all the financial and operational aspects that made Alex's head spin. It was the perfect partnership. Best friends who complemented each other's skills perfectly. Or so Alex thought. The first crack in her perfect world appeared on a Tuesday morning 2 weeks before the IPO. Alex had arrived at the office early, as she always did, to put in a few hours of coding before the chaos of meetings began. She'd been working on a new feature for ThinkSync, deep in the zone, when she noticed something odd in the company's back-end servers. There was a folder she didn't recognize, labeled VJC Personal. Alex's curiosity got the better of her. As the company's CTO and the person who'd built the entire infrastructure, she had access to everything. She opened the folder. Inside were financial documents, spreadsheets, transfer records. Alex's blood ran cold as she scrolled through them, her brilliant mind processing the information at lightning speed. Vanessa had been moving money. Lots of money. From company accounts into offshore holdings. Over the past 18 months, she'd siphoned off nearly $3 million. Alex's hands shook as she downloaded everything to an encrypted drive. Her best friend, her business partner, the woman she'd trusted with everything, was embezzling from their company. But it got worse. So much worse. In another subfolder, Alex found documents that made her stomach drop. Legal papers, corporate restructuring proposals, and a detailed plan to force Alex out of the company entirely, leaving Vanessa as the sole owner right after the IPO. The proposal included character assassination strategies, forged emails that would make Alex look mentally unstable, and a psychiatric evaluation that claimed Alex was having a breakdown and needed to be removed from leadership for her own good. Alex sat back in her chair, her mind racing. This wasn't just embezzlement. This was a calculated corporate coup. She was about to close the folder when she saw one more file. Video files. Her cursor hovered over the first one for a long moment before she clicked. The video opened, and Alex's world shattered into a million pieces. It was security footage from what looked like a hotel room. The timestamp showed it was from 6 months ago. And there, on the screen, were Vanessa and Derek. Together. In bed. Laughing. Kissing. Planning. She doesn't suspect a thing. Derek's voice came through the speakers. "The proposal is ready. I've been softening her up, making her trust me completely. Once we're married, I'll have access to everything. Then we execute the plan." "You're sure she won't fight back?" Vanessa's voice was cold, calculated. Nothing like the warm best friend Alex had known for 15 years. Alex is brilliant with code, but she's naive about people, Derek said with a laugh that made Alex's skin crawl. She thinks everyone is as honest as she is. By the time she realizes what's happening, it'll be too late. We'll have the company, the money, and she'll be discredited and alone. Alex watched in horror as they continued planning her destruction. There were more videos, months of them. Derek hadn't accidentally met her at that conference. Vanessa had sent him. The entire relationship had been a setup. She grabbed her trash can and vomited. When she'd emptied her stomach, Alex sat back, wiping her mouth with a shaking hand. Tears streamed down her face, but beneath the heartbreak, something else was growing. Something cold and sharp and dangerous. They thought she was naive. They thought she wouldn't fight back. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Alex spent the rest of the day in a daze, playing her part perfectly. She smiled at Derek when he texted her sweet messages. She responded warmly to Vanessa's excited messages about the upcoming IPO. She acted like the trusting fool they believed her to be. But that night, after Derek had fallen asleep beside her, Alex sat in her home office and began to plan. She had advantages they didn't know about. Secrets she'd kept even from Vanessa. First, the company's core code, the revolutionary AI algorithm that made ThinkSync worth $500 million, existed only in Alex's head and on her personal encrypted servers. She'd never shared the complete source code with anyone, not even Vanessa. It was paranoia from her early days as a female coder in a male-dominated industry, but that paranoia was about to save her. Second, Alex had built backdoors into every system. Not for malicious purposes, but because she was a security-minded developer who wanted to be able to fix problems remotely. Those backdoors were about to become weapons. Third, and most importantly, Alex had a secret investor that no one knew about. Not Vanessa, not the board, not even Derek. 6 months ago, Alex had been approached by Marcus Chen, a billionaire tech mogul who'd been interested in acquiring Novatech. Alex had declined the acquisition but had struck up a friendship with Marcus. They'd met for coffee regularly, and Alex had shared her vision for the company's future. Marcus had been so impressed that he'd offered to become a silent partner, investing $50 million in exchange for a 10% stake that he'd agreed to keep completely confidential until after the IPO. Alex had accepted, using the money to accelerate product development. The investment was structured through a trust that wouldn't be revealed until the IPO documents were filed. Vanessa had no idea it existed, which meant she also had no idea that Alex's stake in the company was actually only 50%, with Marcus holding 10% and Vanessa's real ownership at 40%. That 10% was about to change everything. Alex pulled up her encrypted communication app and sent Marcus a message. "We need to talk. Urgent. I've uncovered fraud and conspiracy. Can you meet tomorrow?" The response came within minutes. "My office. 8 a.m. Bring everything." Alex spent the rest of the night downloading and organizing evidence. Every video, every financial record, every email and document from Vanessa's secret folder. She created multiple encrypted backups and stored them in different cloud services under fake names. By the time the sun rose, Alex had built a comprehensive case that would destroy both Vanessa and Derek. But she wasn't ready to strike yet. She needed to be strategic. She needed to make sure that when she brought them down, they'd lose everything. At 8 a.m. sharp, Alex sat in Marcus Chen's penthouse office, presenting everything she'd found. Marcus listened in silence, his expression growing darker with each revelation. "They made a critical error," Marcus finally said. "They underestimated you." "Everyone does," Alex replied quietly. "I'm used to it. Then it's time to show them what you're really capable of." Marcus leaned forward. "Here's what we're going to do." Over the next 2 hours, they plotted a strategy that was elegant, devastating, and completely legal. They would let Vanessa and Derek think their plan was working, all while Alex quietly secured her assets and built an alternative future. "One question," Marcus said as Alex prepared to leave. "Why not just expose them now? Have them arrested for fraud?" Alex's smile was cold and didn't reach her eyes. "Because I don't just want to stop them. I want them to lose everything they've schemed for. I want them to taste victory right before I rip it away. And I want the whole world to see exactly who they really are. Remind me never to cross you," Marcus said with genuine respect. As Alex left his office, she felt different. The heartbroken, devastated woman who'd discovered the betrayal yesterday was gone. In her place was someone harder, sharper, someone who'd learned that trust was a luxury she could no longer afford. But someone who was also going to make sure that betrayal came with a price. Alex became a ghost in her own life, present, but not really there, playing a role so convincing that she sometimes forgot it was an act. She smiled at Derek's jokes. She enthusiastically discussed wedding plans. She gushed with Vanessa about how excited she was for the IPO, all while systematically dismantling the world they thought they were about to steal. The first step was securing her intellectual property. Over the course of a week, Alex quietly transferred all of ThinkSync's core algorithms to a new set of encrypted servers that only she could access. She left enough code in the company's systems to keep the app running, but she removed the revolutionary AI engine that made it special. Anyone looking at the code would think everything was fine. But without the core algorithm, ThinkSync was just another productivity app. Good, but not worth $500 million. Not even close. Next, Alex began documenting everything. She wore a small recording device to every meeting with Vanessa. She saved every text message from Derek. She created a timeline of the embezzlement with transaction records that would hold up in any court. But the real masterstroke came when Alex hacked into Derek's laptop. It wasn't hard. Derek used the same password for everything, a combination of his birthday and the word success. Amateur hour. Alex installed monitoring software that gave her access to every email, every document, every file on his computer. What she found was even worse than she'd imagined. Derek wasn't just some guy Vanessa had recruited. He was a professional con artist who specialized in corporate espionage and romantic manipulation. His real name was Derek Sanderson, and he had a criminal record in 3 states under different names. He'd done this before. Seduced female executives, gained their trust, and helped business partners or competitors destroy them. Vanessa had hired him through a dark web forum that specialized in corporate sabotage. Alex felt sick reading through the communications between Derek and Vanessa. They talked about her like she was a mark, a target, something to be used and discarded. Derek had detailed reports on her habits, her insecurities, her vulnerabilities. He'd studied her like a predator studying prey. "She's easy," Derek had written in one message. "Lonely, desperate to be loved, and so buried in her code that she doesn't notice anything happening in the real world. I could rob her blind and she'd probably thank me." Alex had to step away from her computer, her hands shaking with rage. She wanted to confront them, to scream, to destroy them immediately. But that would be emotional, and emotion made people sloppy. Instead, Alex made a phone call. "Marcus? I need you to connect me with the best fraud attorney on the West Coast, and I need a private investigator who specializes in corporate crime. Money is no object." Within 24 hours, Alex had a team. Attorney Rebecca Walsh was a shark who'd made her reputation destroying white-collar criminals. Private investigator James Rodriguez had worked for the FBI before going private and specialized in building airtight cases. Together, they began building a legal fortress around Alex's evidence. But Alex wasn't done. She had one more card to play, and it was going to be spectacular. She created a fake email account and sent an anonymous message to Derek from someone claiming to be an investor interested in acquiring Nova Tech post-IPO. The message suggested a meeting to discuss buying out both Alex and Vanessa after the company went public, implying that the mysterious investor knew about their plan and wanted to help them maximize their profits. Derek took the bait immediately. The investor, actually James Rodriguez in a perfectly executed undercover role, met with Derek at an expensive restaurant. James played the part of a shady billionaire perfectly, and Derek, thinking he'd found someone who could help him and Vanessa steal even more money, spilled everything. He talked about the forged psychiatric evaluation, the plan to have Alex declared mentally incompetent, the offshore accounts where they'd been hiding embezzled funds, the timeline for executing the coup, just 2 days after the IPO when Alex's shares would be at maximum value. James recorded every word. Meanwhile, Vanessa was making her own mistakes. Alex had started making small errors at work, nothing major, just enough to make Vanessa think the gaslighting campaign was working. Alex would forget meetings, seem confused about details she'd previously been clear on, act stressed and overwhelmed. Vanessa ate it up. She started documenting these incidents, sending concerned emails to board members about Alex's declining mental state. She scheduled a company-wide meeting for the day after the IPO, where she planned to present evidence of Alex's instability and call for a vote to remove her as CEO. Alex let her keep planning, all while building her counterstrike. 2 weeks before the IPO, Alex made her next move. She reached out to TechVision, the biggest technology news outlet in the country, and offered them an exclusive interview about the upcoming IPO and her journey as a female founder in tech. The reporter, Sarah Chen, no relation to Vanessa, jumped at the opportunity. They scheduled the interview for the day before the IPO. But Alex had a special surprise planned for that interview. As the IPO date approached, Derek became more attentive, more loving, more perfect. He planned romantic dinners. He talked about their future together. He even suggested they accelerate the wedding plans. Maybe get married right after the IPO in a small, intimate ceremony. Alex smiled and agreed to everything, all while knowing that Derek would be in handcuffs before that wedding could ever happen. The night before the IPO, Vanessa threw a party at her penthouse. All the employees, all the investors, except Marcus, who remained secret. All the people who'd helped build Nova Tech were there to celebrate. Alex arrived with Derek on her arm, wearing a stunning dress and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She gave a speech thanking everyone for their hard work and dedication. She raised a toast to Vanessa, calling her the best friend and business partner anyone could ask for. Vanessa's return toast was equally effusive, praising Alex's brilliant mind and trusting heart. Alex almost laughed at the irony. Later that night, when Derek was asleep, Alex sat in her home office and made final preparations. Tomorrow was the IPO. Tomorrow, Nova Tech would be worth $500 million on paper. And tomorrow, Alex was going to burn it all down. But first, she had one more person to talk to. She pulled up an encrypted video call. Marcus? Everything's in place. Are you ready? The question is, are you ready? Marcus asked. Once we do this, there's no going back. They already made sure there was no going back, Alex said quietly. When Vanessa decided to betray 15 years of friendship, when Derek decided to fake loving me, they made this choice. I'm just making sure they face the consequences. Then, let's give them a morning they'll never forget, Marcus said with a grim smile. Alex ended the call and pulled up the interview questions Sarah Chen had sent her earlier that day. Standard stuff about the company, about being a female founder, about her vision for the future. But Alex had written her own answers, and they were going to change everything. She spent the rest of the night rehearsing, making sure every word was perfect, making sure that when she destroyed Vanessa and Derek, there would be no doubt about what they'd done. As the sun rose on IPO day, Alex looked at herself in the mirror. She looked the same as always, understated makeup, professional clothes, her dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. But her eyes were different, harder, colder. Good morning, beautiful, Derek said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Big day. How do you feel? Like everything's about to change, Alex said truthfully. Derek kissed her neck. It is. After today, we'll be set for life. Alex smiled at him in the mirror. Yes, we will, just not in the way he thought. The TechVision studio was sleek and modern, with cameras and lights positioned to make the interview look intimate and authentic. Sarah Chen greeted Alex warmly, chatting easily about the excitement of the IPO as makeup artists did final touch-ups. We'll be streaming this live on our platform, Sarah explained. We're expecting a huge audience. Everyone wants to hear from the brilliant mind behind ThinkSync. Perfect, Alex said with a smile that made Sarah give her a curious look. You seem different than I expected, Sarah said. More focused, determined. I've learned a lot in the past few weeks, Alex replied. About business, about people, about who you can really trust. That sounds like there's a story there. There is, Alex said. And I'm about to tell it. The interview started normally enough. Sarah asked about Alex's background, her education, her journey to creating Nova Tech. Alex answered smoothly, professionally, painting the picture of a successful tech entrepreneur. Then Sarah asked the question Alex had been waiting for. You co-founded Nova Tech with your best friend Vanessa Chen. What's it like building a company with someone you've known since college? Alex's expression changed. Something harder came into her eyes. That's an interesting question, Sarah, because I've recently learned that the person I thought was my best friend has been systematically embezzling from our company, planning to force me out, and working with my fiancé, who is actually a hired con artist, to destroy my life and steal everything I've built. Sarah's eyes went wide. I'm sorry, what? You wanted the real story of Novatech? Alex said, looking directly into the camera. Here it is. For the next 30 minutes, Alex presented everything. She had Rebecca Walsh standing by with legal documents that proved everything she was saying was true and legally protected speech. She showed financial records of the embezzlement. She played audio recordings of Vanessa and Derek planning her destruction. She revealed Derek's real identity and criminal background. And she did it all calmly, methodically, like she was presenting code at a technical conference. Vanessa Chen has stolen nearly $3 million from Novatech over the past 18 months, Alex explained, showing spreadsheets on the screen. She's been hiding it in offshore accounts, planning to disappear after forcing me out of the company. Derek Matthews, whose real name is Derek Sanderson, was hired by Vanessa to seduce me, gain my trust, and help execute the corporate coup. He's done this before, in at least 3 other states, helping business partners betray and destroy female executives. Sarah looked shocked, but she was a professional. These are serious allegations. Do you have proof? I have mountains of proof, Alex said, all of which has been provided to law enforcement, the SEC, and our company's board of directors. By the end of today, both Vanessa Chen and Derek Sanderson will be under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Alex pulled up one more document on the screen. And here's the final twist. The IPO that was supposed to happen today, it's been canceled. Not because of the fraud, but because I'm withdrawing the company from the public offering. Why would you do that? Because ThinkSync's core technology, the revolutionary AI algorithm that makes it worth $500 million, belongs to me personally, not to Novatech. I created it before founding the company, and I've maintained sole ownership in a separate entity. Without that algorithm, Novatech is just another productivity app. Alex's smile was sharp as a knife. Vanessa and Derek were planning to steal a company that was already worthless without me. They just didn't know it yet. So what happens now? Sarah asked, clearly riveted by the unfolding drama. Now I'm launching a new company with my actual business partner Marcus Chen, Alex said. Chen Ventures invested $50 million in my personal tech entity 6 months ago. We're taking the real ThinkSync algorithm and building something new, something that Vanessa and Derek can never touch. And I'm offering every Novatech employee a position in the new company at a 20% salary increase, Alex continued. Because they deserve to work for a company run by honest people. The interview continued for another 15 minutes, with Alex answering questions about her plans, her feelings, and her message to other entrepreneurs who might face similar betrayals. Trust your instincts, Alex said. Protect your intellectual property, and never ever assume that friendship or love means someone won't betray you. People will always show you who they are. Pay attention. As the cameras turned off, Sarah looked at Alex with something like awe. That was the most dramatic interview I've ever conducted. Your story is going to be everywhere within the hour. Good, Alex said. I want the whole world to know exactly what Vanessa and Derek did. Alex walked out of the studio to find Marcus waiting in the lobby with a smile. I watched the live stream. You were magnificent. Phase 1 complete, Alex said. Now comes Phase 2. They walked to Marcus's car where James Rodriguez was waiting with an update. The police are executing warrants right now. They're arresting Derek at your penthouse and Vanessa at the Novatech office. The SEC has frozen all the offshore accounts. It's done. Alex felt a wave of emotion wash over her, but she pushed it down. She wasn't finished yet. And the Novatech board meeting? She asked. Scheduled for 3 p.m., Marcus confirmed. That's when we make the final announcement. The board meeting was held in the same glass conference room where Alex had first discovered the betrayal. All 12 board members were present, including Vanessa's chair, which sat conspicuously empty. I'm sure you've all seen this morning's interview, Alex began. And I'm sure you have questions. The questions came rapid fire. How long had she known? Why hadn't she told the board sooner? What did this mean for the company? Alex answered each one calmly, professionally. Then she dropped the final bomb. As of today, I'm resigning as CEO of Novatech, she announced. Without the core ThinkSync algorithm, this company has limited value. I'm offering to license a basic version of the technology to Novatech for a reasonable fee, which will allow the company to continue operating and will protect employees' jobs. But the revolutionary AI, the technology that was supposed to make us worth $500 million, belongs to my new venture, SyncTech Solutions, which I'm launching with Marcus Chen. One of the board members, a venture capitalist named Tom Harrison, looked furious. You sabotaged your own company. No, Alex said coldly. Vanessa Chen sabotaged this company when she started embezzling. I protected my intellectual property, which I have every legal right to do. The core algorithm was never Novatech property. It was always mine. Another board member, Jennifer Lopez, no relation to the singer, spoke up. What about us? We invested millions based on the valuation of that technology. And you'll be made whole, Marcus interjected. Chen Ventures is offering to buy out all board investments at 110% of your initial investment amount. You'll make a profit, and you'll be free of a company that was being destroyed from within by fraud. The room erupted in argument, but Alex didn't care anymore. She'd said what she needed to say. She'd protected herself legally and financially. And most importantly, she'd made sure that Vanessa and Derek would face justice. As the meeting dissolved into chaos, Alex quietly left the room. She walked out of the Novatech building for the last time, feeling lighter than she had in months. Her phone rang. It was Rebecca Walsh. Alex, I wanted to let you know, Vanessa and Derek are both in custody. Vanessa is facing multiple felony charges for embezzlement and fraud. Derek is being charged with conspiracy, identity fraud, and violations of his parole from a previous conviction. How much prison time are we talking about? Alex asked. Vanessa is looking at 10 to 15 years if convicted on all counts. Derek could get 20 to 25 because of his prior record. The evidence you gathered is ironclad. There's no way they're walking away from this. Alex felt a grim satisfaction. Thank you, Rebecca. One more thing, Rebecca said. Vanessa's lawyer reached out. She wants to make a deal. She's offering to testify against Derek and return all the embezzled money in exchange for a reduced sentence. What do you think? Alex asked. I think she's desperate and trying to save herself, but the decision is yours. Alex thought about it. Vanessa, her best friend of 15 years, the person she'd trusted more than anyone, was now begging for mercy. Tell her no, Alex said finally. She made her choices. She can live with the consequences. That evening, Alex sat in her new office at SyncTech Solutions, a sleek space in a different building entirely. Marcus had invested not just money, but resources, connections, and genuine partnership. They'd assembled a team of top engineers, all people Alex trusted and had worked with before. On her desk was her laptop, open to the code that would become the next generation of ThinkSync. Better, faster, more revolutionary than anything Vanessa had tried to steal. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Against her better judgment, she opened it. It was from Derek. I know you won't believe me, but I'm sorry. You're right about everything. I was hired to do a job and I did it. But somewhere along the way, I actually fell for you. The feelings became real. For what it's worth, I wish I'd been a better man. Alex stared at the message for a long time. Then she blocked the number and deleted the message. Some apologies came too late. Some betrayals couldn't be forgiven. And some people, Alex had learned, would say anything to avoid facing the consequences of their actions. She went back to her code, losing herself in the clean logic of programming, where everything made sense and nothing could betray you, unless you let it. 3 months later, Alex sat in a courtroom as Vanessa Chen's trial began. Derek had already been convicted in a separate proceeding and sentenced to 22 years in federal prison. Now it was Vanessa's turn to face justice. The prosecution presented the evidence methodically: the embezzled funds, the forged documents, the conspiracy to commit fraud, the communications with Derek planning Alex's destruction. Alex testified for 2 full days, walking the jury through how she'd discovered the betrayal, how she'd gathered evidence, and how she'd felt watching her best friend of 15 years plot her downfall. Did you ever confront Miss Chen before going to the authorities? The prosecutor asked. No, Alex said. I knew that if I confronted her, she'd destroy evidence and disappear. I needed to be strategic. Some might say you were vengeful. I was protecting myself, Alex corrected. There's a difference between revenge and justice. Revenge is emotional. Justice is legal and necessary. Vanessa committed crimes. I made sure she faced the legal consequences of those crimes. Vanessa's lawyer tried to paint Alex as a vindictive ex-friend who'd set Vanessa up. But the evidence was too strong. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict on all counts. Vanessa was sentenced to 14 years in federal prison and ordered to pay $8 million in restitution, covering the embezzled funds plus damages. As they led Vanessa away in handcuffs, she looked at Alex with tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she mouthed. "I'm so sorry." Alex looked back at her former friend and felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just a vast emptiness where their friendship used to be. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Alex. She gave a brief statement, then left with Marcus and her legal team. "How do you feel?" Marcus asked once they were in the car. "Tired," Alex admitted, "but free. For the first time in months, I feel free." Sync Tech Solutions had launched 2 weeks earlier, and the response had been overwhelming. The new ThinkSync 2 was everything the original had been and more, and companies were lining up to license the technology. Within 6 months, SyncTech was valued at $750 million, $250 million more than Novatech had ever been worth. Alex owned 45%, Marcus owned 45%, and they'd reserved 10% for employee equity. Alex had also made good on her promise to Novatech employees. 70% of them had joined SyncTech, including most of the top engineers and developers who'd made the original ThinkSync possible. Novatech itself had been sold to a mid-sized tech company for $50 million, a fraction of its supposed value. The board members who'd taken Marcus's buyout offer had walked away with profits. Those who hadn't had lost almost everything. But Alex's greatest triumph wasn't financial. It was personal. She'd rebuilt her life. She'd learned to trust again, carefully and strategically. She'd surrounded herself with people who'd proven their loyalty not just with words but with actions. And she'd learned the most important lesson of all, that the strongest code she could write wasn't in a computer. It was the code she lived by. Integrity, honesty, protecting herself and the things she'd built. 6 months after Vanessa's trial, Alex stood on a stage at the biggest tech conference in the world, giving the keynote speech. The audience of 5,000 people hung on her every word as she told her story. "Betrayal happens," Alex said. "In business, in friendship, in love. People will disappoint you. They'll lie to you. They'll try to take what you've built. But here's what I learned. They can only take what you don't protect. Your intellectual property, your code, your vision. Those things are yours. Safeguard them. Document everything. Trust but verify. And when betrayal comes, and it will come, don't just survive it. Learn from it. Grow from it. Use it to build something even better than what they tried to take." The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. After the speech, a young woman approached Alex. She couldn't have been more than 25, with nervous eyes and a laptop clutched to her chest. "Ms. Rivera? I just wanted to say thank you. I'm a software developer, and my business partner has been pressuring me to sign over my code to the company. After hearing your story, I realized I need to protect it. You might have just saved my career." Alex smiled warmly. "Protect your work, always. And if you ever need advice, my door is always open." As the young woman walked away, Alex felt something shift inside her. This was what it had all been for. Not just revenge, not just justice, but the opportunity to help others avoid what she'd gone through. That evening, Alex returned to her penthouse, a new place, with no memories of Derek, no ghosts of betrayal. She poured herself a glass of wine and stood on the balcony, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. Her phone rang. It was Sarah Chen from Tech Vision. "Alex, I hope I'm not calling too late. I wanted to let you know, that interview we did, it's been viewed over 50 million times. It's the most watched tech interview in history." "That's... wow," Alex said. "And I wanted to ask, would you be interested in doing a follow-up, a Where Are They Now piece? People want to know how you're doing, what you're building, what comes next." Alex thought about it. Part of her wanted to leave the past behind, to focus only on the future. But another part recognized the platform she'd been given and the responsibility that came with it. "Yes," she said, "but I want to focus on the lessons, on how other entrepreneurs can protect themselves, on how to build companies with integrity. Can we do that?" "Absolutely," Sarah said. "That's exactly what people need to hear." After the call ended, Alex sat back down and opened her laptop. She had a company to build, code to write, and a future to create. And for the first time in a long time, that future felt bright. 1 year after Vanessa's conviction, Alex's life had transformed in ways she never could have imagined. SyncTech Solutions was now valued at $1.2 billion. Alex had been named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people. She'd written a book called The Unbreakable Code, Protecting Your Business from Betrayal, that had become a bestseller. But the greatest change was internal. Alex had learned to trust again, carefully, strategically, but genuinely. She'd built a core team of people who'd proven their loyalty again and again. She'd made real friends, people who valued her for who she was, not what she could give them. She was happy. Genuinely, truly happy. Which is why the email that arrived on a Tuesday morning caught her completely off guard. It was from a prison email system. The sender was Vanessa Chen. Alex's first instinct was to delete it. She'd moved on. Vanessa was part of her past, and that's where she needed to stay. But curiosity got the better of her. She opened it. Alex, I know I have no right to contact you. I know you have every reason to delete this without reading, but I'm asking you for 5 minutes of your time. Not for me. For you. I've had a year in prison to think about what I did. To understand it. And I've realized something that I think you need to know. I was never your friend. I know that sounds obvious now after everything I did. But I mean it in a deeper way. From the very beginning, from the day we met in college, I befriended you because I saw your potential and wanted to use it. You were brilliant, kind, trusting, everything I wasn't and could never be. And I hated you for it. I hated that coding came so easily to you. I hated that people liked you naturally. I hated that you had integrity when I had none. But I also saw an opportunity. If I stayed close to you, if I made you trust me completely, I could eventually take everything you built. It was never about friendship. It was always a long con. I'm not telling you this to hurt you or to ask for forgiveness. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know the truth. Our entire friendship, all 15 years of it, was a lie. I was never your best friend. I was always your enemy. The woman you trusted never existed. I created her to manipulate you. I'm sorry for that. Not because I got caught, but because you deserved a real friend. You deserved someone who actually cared about you. And I robbed you of that. Use this knowledge however you need to. Share it, ignore it, burn it. Just know that everything you thought you knew about our friendship was false. I hope you've built something beautiful without me. I hope you've learned to trust again. And I hope you never trust someone like me ever again. Vanessa. Alex read the email 3 times, her emotions churning. Part of her wanted to dismiss it as manipulation, but something about the stark honesty rang true. Vanessa had nothing to gain from this email. She was already in prison, already convicted, already punished. This wasn't a plea for sympathy or a request for help. It was just the truth. And somehow, that truth was exactly what Alex needed. She'd spent months wondering what she'd missed, what signs she'd ignored, how someone could betray a 15-year friendship so completely. Now she knew there had never been a friendship to betray. It had all been an illusion. And strangely, that knowledge didn't hurt. It freed her. Alex had been carrying guilt, wondering if she'd somehow driven Vanessa to betrayal, if she'd been a bad friend, if she'd missed something crucial. But she hadn't. There was nothing she could have done differently, because Vanessa had never been who Alex thought she was. Alex closed the email and sat back in her chair. Then she did something unexpected. She wrote back, Vanessa, thank you for the honesty. You're right. I needed to know. Not because it changes anything, but because it answers questions I've been carrying. You said you were never my friend, and I believe you. But here's what I've learned that says everything about you and nothing about me. I was a good friend. I was loyal, supportive, and trusting. Those aren't weaknesses, even though you exploited them. They're strengths that I'm proud of. The fact that you couldn't be those things, that you saw my trust as something to use rather than honor, that's your failure, not mine. I've built something beautiful, just like you hoped. But more than that, I've built it with people who actually care about me. People who celebrate my success instead of resenting it. People who add to my life instead of plotting to take from it. I hope prison gives you time to become someone better. Someone capable of genuine connection. Because the person you were wasn't just destructive to me. She was destructive to you too. Good luck with whatever comes next. Alex. She sent the email and closed her laptop, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. That evening, Alex hosted a dinner party at her penthouse. Not a business event or a networking opportunity, just dinner with friends. Real friends. Marcus was there with his wife Elena. Sarah Chen from Tech Vision had become a genuine friend and attended with her partner. James Rodriguez, the PI who'd helped build the case, had become part of Alex's inner circle and brought his husband. And there were new people too. Engineers from SyncTech who'd become close friends, a venture capitalist named Rachel who'd invested in the company and become a mentor, a professor from Stanford who'd invited Alex to guest lecture and had become a trusted advisor. As Alex looked around her table at people laughing, talking, and genuinely enjoying each other's company, she realized something profound. Vanessa had tried to take everything from her, but in doing so, she'd forced Alex to build something better. A better company, better friendships, a better version of herself. Speech, Marcus called out, raising his glass. Come on, Alex. You always have something wise to say. Alex stood, glass in hand, and looked at the faces around her table. I've been thinking a lot about trust lately, she began. About how hard it is to trust after betrayal. How scary it feels to open yourself up again. But here's what I've learned. The opposite of betrayal isn't suspicion. It's not building walls or assuming everyone is out to get you. The opposite of betrayal is healthy trust. Trust that's earned, trust that's proven, trust that's built on actions, not just words. Everyone at this table has proven their trustworthiness, not through grand gestures, but through consistent, honest, supportive actions. You've celebrated my victories and supported me through challenges. You've been real with me, even when it was uncomfortable. So, thank you, Alex said, her voice thick with emotion. For being the kind of people worth trusting. For showing me that betrayal doesn't have to make you bitter. It can make you better at choosing who deserves a place in your life. The dinner party continued late into the night, filled with laughter and genuine connection. And as Alex said goodnight to her guests, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, peace. The next morning, Alex received a call from her publisher. Alex, we've got something incredible. A major streaming platform wants to do a limited series based on your story. They're offering a 7-figure deal for the rights. What do you think? The publisher asked. Alex thought about it. Her story was already public. The trial had been covered extensively, and her book had shared her experience. A TV series would just put it in a different format. And maybe, just maybe, it would help other people recognize the signs of betrayal before it was too late. I'll do it, Alex said. But on one condition, I want creative control. I want to make sure the story shows not just the betrayal and revenge, but the rebuilding, the growth, the transformation. Done, the publisher said immediately. 6 months later, Alex stood on the set of The Code, watching actors portray the most difficult period of her life. It was surreal and cathartic all at once. The actress playing Alex approached during a break. I just want to say, your story is incredible. The way you fought back, the way you protected yourself and built something even better. It's inspiring. Thank you, Alex said. But the real story isn't just about fighting back. It's about learning to trust again, learning to build genuine relationships after betrayal. That's the hard part. Well, you've definitely done that, the actress said, gesturing to where Marcus stood with the director, offering input on a technical scene. From what I've seen, you've built an incredible life. Alex smiled. I have. And that's the real victory. Not that Vanessa went to prison, or that Derek lost everything. The real victory is that I'm happy, I'm successful on my own terms, and I'm surrounded by people who genuinely care about me. As filming continued, Alex reflected on the journey from that devastating discovery in the office to this moment. It had been painful, challenging, and at times seemed impossible. But she'd done it. She'd survived betrayal and come out stronger. The series premiered 9 months later to critical acclaim and massive viewership. Alex did interviews, talked about her experience, and used the platform to help others recognize and escape toxic relationships, both personal and professional. And through it all, SyncTech continued to grow. New products launched, new partnerships formed. The company expanded internationally. 2 years after Vanessa's conviction, Alex received another email from prison. This time, she almost didn't open it. But something made her click. Alex, I heard about the TV series. I heard about SyncTech's latest valuation. I heard you're being considered for the cover of Forbes. I'm not writing to apologize again or to ask for anything. I'm writing because I want you to know something. You won. Not just in the obvious ways, the company, the success, the recognition. You won in the way that matters most. You took the worst thing I could do to you and turned it into fuel. You built something better than anything we ever could have created together. I thought I was destroying you. Instead, I freed you to become who you were always meant to be. I'll be in prison for another 12 years, and every day I'll know that while I'm stuck in here, you're out there thriving, building, creating, living. And weirdly, that doesn't make me angry anymore. It makes me glad. Glad that you didn't let what I did destroy you. Glad that you proved you're everything I pretended to be and never was. Congratulations on all your success. You earned every bit of it. Vanessa. Alex read the email once, then closed it without responding. Some things didn't need a response. Some acknowledgments were enough on their own. That evening, Alex sat in her office at SyncTech, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. The same view she'd had at Novatech, but everything was different now. She thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago, trusting, naive, unaware that her best friend and fiancé were planning her destruction. That woman was gone. In her place was someone stronger, wiser, more capable. Someone who'd learned the hardest lessons about trust, betrayal, and resilience. Alex opened her laptop and pulled up the code for SyncTech's next revolutionary product. As her fingers flew across the keyboard, she smiled. Vanessa had been right about one thing: Alex had won. But not because she'd destroyed her enemies or gotten revenge. She'd won because she'd refused to let betrayal define her. She'd taken the pain, processed it, learned from it, and used it to build something extraordinary. The code she was writing wasn't just software. It was her legacy. Proof that brilliance, integrity, and resilience were more powerful than any scheme or betrayal. And as the sun set over San Francisco, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and gold, Alex Rivera kept coding, kept building, kept creating. Because that's what survivors do. They don't just endure. They transform. They rise. They win. And they write their own code, one unbreakable line at a time. Ending CTA. Wow! What an incredible journey. Alex went from being betrayed by her best friend and fiancé to building a billion-dollar empire and finding true happiness. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to Tender Heart Stories for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal, revenge, and triumph. Before you go, I want to hear from you. What was the most satisfying part of Alex's revenge? Was it the live interview exposing them? The prison sentences? Or her massive success with SyncTech? Drop your favorite moment in the comments below. And here's my final question. If you were in Alex's position, would you have forgiven Vanessa after her prison email, or would you have done exactly what Alex did? Comment forgive or no way and tell us why. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next incredible story. Trust me, you won't want to miss what we have coming next week. Until then, remember, betrayal may knock you down, but it's up to you whether you stay down or rise up stronger than ever. Alex chose to rise, and look where it got her. See you in the next story. This is Tender Heart Stories, where every ending teaches us something about strength, resilience, and the power of never giving up.